Are you interested in becoming a permanent part of the channel or having a direct impact on the type of content that I create? Well, now you can check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Throughout it, you're going to find a handful of different tiers that can include special perks like shoutouts on the supporter card at the beginning of all my videos, access to the private channel in my Discord, and the ability to watch all of my content on Patreon a couple weeks early and totally ad-free. On top of that, the different video tiers will let you commission videos directly from me. We can build a deck together, you can send me some gameplay to commentate, or even select a character for me to spotlight. You can also now join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on YouTube. Pledging your subscription here is going to grant you a same spot on that supporter card and access to that same Discord channel, as well as hook you up with a member's badge that levels up and access to emotes when I stream on YouTube. I'm going to have the Patreon link down below to check out, and the Discord should you want to join that. And if you want to become a channel member, the join button is what you want to hit. If you end up supporting my work in any way, thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and we've got another spotlight today. This one's coming to you off the back of my patron, Lanoko, and we're looking at the newest version of the League of Villains' infamous leader, Tomura Shigaraki 3. Shigaraki 3 is a 7-hand size character with 19 health and the death, evil, and order symbols. This Shigaraki is based off his time as he starts to lead the League of Villains, beginning to take matters into his own hands and really manipulating the battle between heroes and villains from afar. He's got a slew of abilities that reflect that masterminding playstyle, so let's start going right into them. His first and most prevalent effect is that Enhance that forces your rival to make an extra check, and if they fail it, he gets to draw a card. This has no limit to the amount of times you can play it and is usable on both turns, meaning every time Shigaraki is attacking or being attacked into, there is a chance of him getting to draw an extra card and or commit some of your foundations if you elect to pass a bad check. 7-hand size is really a fake number here, as odds are you're going to be finding a few extra cards every turn cycle with this power. Next up, his response, letting you, once per turn, apply -1 to any check your rival makes. This can be used when they're trying to play an attack or a foundation, making a check to block, making a check for your own enhance. It's super versatile, and it lets Shigaraki make some choice decisions to put even more pressure on the rival's stage. Lastly, our once per game lets us trade 1 momentum in order to apply a blanket -1 to all our rivals' checks for the whole turn cycle. This is how Shigaraki really manipulates the end game. Once again, this is all to checks made whatsoever, so aggressively, it effectively means +1 speed to all your moves and either draw 1 card or, best case scenario if they check a 5, stun 1 on all of your attacks. Then, if that doesn't take them out, they have to maneuver through their next turn with all of their cards being 1 difficulty harder to play and that same level of draw power on all of their attacks for you. Once you finally touch your rival and snag that momentum, you're going to unlock this seriously scary and very versatile once per game. You can use it to make lethal turns smooth as butter, or you can just use it to poke safely and then protect yourself from the backswing your rival is setting up. This blanket ability really turbocharges every aspect of Shigaraki into a control beast. With Shigaraki 3, you're going to be able to pressure your rival, starve their resources, and control them into a corner until your plan comes together to turn them into dust. Now, as powerful as Shigaraki is, the mastermind needs his pieces to play with. When it comes to his attacks, Shigaraki has some interesting needs. You're a 7-hand size character, but you draw a lot of cards, and you don't enter endgame until you get momentum, meaning you're going to need to last a little while. At the same time though, Shigaraki doesn't put any stats onto his moves whatsoever, so you're going to be very reliant on the attacks themselves to threaten the rival. So even your pokes got to get a little scary. Vile Season is the peak of that. It draws cards, it pressures their boards, it gains damage, and it's got a crazy deadlock. Tongue Whip is going to serve a very similar purpose, being just a cheap and efficient way to threaten your rival, and that is what you want, being able to pressure them without putting a ton of risk on yourself. Now when it comes to your bombs, they need to be bombs. When Shigaraki is ready to close out a game, he's got to bust out some seriously scary attacks because they are pulling all of the legwork. Needle Stab is amazing at converting the surplus of cards in your hand into free stats and free momentum, while 1.3 million is just the pinnacle kill card on all 3 of its symbols, especially with how efficiently Shigaraki can commit their entire board down. His very own Decaying Palm Slam is another very scary move that syncs up with our check hacks beautifully, but be wary of all its momentum costs alongside your once per game usage. Speaking of being wary of our once per game cost, it sure does cost momentum, doesn't it? You don't ever want to be struggling for that resource when you need it, so another priority for Shigaraki's attacks is some guaranteed damage. Guaranteed damage means guaranteed momentum means guaranteed once per game. For that reason, cards that always deal damage like Electric Jolt, or ones that snap themselves into momentum like Dual Needle Lunge, are must-haves in our Shigaraki decks. In the same vein, we can always just rely on throws as well. Order and Evil get access to some very nice ones like Grasping Tape Toss and Invincible Clasp. Another great aspect about having attacks like throws that guarantee value is that our character already encourages us to attack at least a little no matter what, because every attack always has a chance to replace itself when we get to draw that card. Now when it comes to our foundations, the best thing our stage can be doing is really hammering down the board control aspects of Shigaraki. There are a multitude of great cards we can throw in that really help put the pressure on their foundations. This is going to be the area where Shigaraki's newly acquired order symbol really shines. We can find all the targeted committal that we want through things like Shock Treatment and League Invitation, getting to pinpoint anything that we don't like. Meanwhile, stuff like Proud Scion can just provide some more incidental committal, and Conflict of Ideologies can throw a little freeze into the mix too. Our other symbols though are going to get some really amazing things to do with our excess of cards in hand. Death getting Snack Time for an amazing aggressive board pressure piece, and in the Typhoon on Evil letting us freely block attacks. Now let's talk some more about having so many cards in hand. Card advantage in this game is very interesting, as since you draw to hand size at the start of every turn, you only need as many cards as you can feasibly play, and Shigaraki does not help us play cards at all. That means foundations that can prop us up in that regard are really important. Speed reduction is the way that we get to cheat playing more cards on defense, helping us through minor spams like Surviving the Final and Shock Absorption, or the hefty repeatable ones like Graceful Maneuvers and Heroic Lineage. Now when it comes to playing more cards on our own turn, Evil can throw us a couple balls. Things like Press Conference and Advice for Winners are going to help out our difficulty curve or our checks. One last bit of advice for your Shigaraki foundations is don't be afraid to look for a little more snap momentum too. Rockin' Attitude and Forced Quirk Activation are both cards that can trade themselves for one, letting you actually once per game before you even hit your rival at all. Now looking at our asset options here, we can really find some strong pieces that all push our agendas in some various ways. Battle Arena is a great include. It's going to pull double duty in not only doubling up our momentum from things like throws and jolts or anything that just hits them naturally, but also through buffing our checks to play attacks as well. We do only need one momentum to once per game, but we will gladly welcome more so we can actually have it as a resource for our other moves. And of course, if you want some more control options, League of Villains is a terrifying asset on two of our symbols that just locks down tons of strategies, and we can always play some ultra compressed weights to keep our rivals' foundations that we don't like completely frozen down every single turn. Shigaraki's action cards are no slouch either. Having all three of Showdown's symbols means that it's one of the best defensive things he can do no matter how you've built him. But the shining star of our lineup here really is masterminding. When we're sending failable checks to our rival non-stop, it is incredibly easy to get these into our momentum, and with all the cards we draw, we're going to be finding them just as easily. Once all your masterminds are set up, your rival is going to really feel the full weight of your plan coming together and just how hard it is to play the game fluidly into you anymore. And if all that pressure isn't enough, you can find even more versatile committal through cards like Engine Trouble and Flex Your Might. And if committing it isn't enough, you can bring Evil Gaze back out to just crumble any foundation you don't like into dust. That's going to conclude our showcase today on Tomura Shigaraki 3. Big thanks again to Lenoco for commissioning this spotlight. If you enjoyed it and you want one just like it, you can check out my Patreon linked down below to commission your own character for me to cover, and of course all of my other video commission tiers as well. And if you want to support the channel in some other ways, I would love some nice positive feedback down below. You could hit the join button and become a member of the Alliteration Nation, or you could just slam that like button if you enjoyed the video. Above all else though, thanks just for making it to the end of it. That's all the time I've got for today, but I hope I can see you in the next one.